Welcome to the Mystery and Horror channel. Get ready for dark stories that will give you chills. Before we start, don't forget to leave your like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay tuned for every new mystery. Now turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and let's dive into terror. Story 1. The Boy in the Castle Leap Window. In the Irish countryside, Castle Leap stands as a haunting reminder of its dark history. Built in the 15th century by the O'Carrolls, a family infamous for their internal rivalries and thirst for power, the castle is renowned not only for its medieval architecture but also for the disturbing energies that inhabit its walls. Among the many tales surrounding the castle, the most intriguing is that of the boy in the window, a spirit often seen gazing from the castle's towers. The story originates during the O'Carroll family's turbulent years. Rivalry between brothers for control of the castle led to murders and betrayals. One of the brothers, desperate to secure his dominance, locked his teenage nephew in the highest tower, fearing the boy might inherit the throne. Left without food or water, the boy cried for help that never came. After weeks, silence fell over the tower, marking the end of his short, tragic life. Since then, the boy's spirit has never left the castle. His figure is often seen in the tower's window, staring at the horizon as if still waiting for rescue. Visitors report intense chills near the tower, even on warm days, and many say they feel as though they're being watched. Others capture photographs showing an indistinct silhouette in the window, despite being alone on the premises. One of the most famous experiences occurred during a winter visit by a group of tourists. While exploring the ruins, a woman noticed something strange in the tower. A pale figure seemed to be standing in the highest window. She alerted the others, who also saw what appeared to be sad eyes and a young face watching them. Climbing to investigate, they found the room completely empty, though the atmosphere was stiflingly heavy. When reviewing their photos, the boy's figure was unmistakably visible in one of the windows. Tour guides at Castle Leap, many of whom have had their own supernatural encounters, avoid telling this story while inside the castle, claiming the boy's spirit is sensitive and dislikes being mentioned directly. Some report hearing whispers or soft sobs from the tower, especially at dusk. There are even accounts of children visiting the castle who claim to see a boy asking for help or inviting them to play, only for the adults to find no one there. Another legend linked to the boy involves an old tapestry that once hung in the tower. In the 17th century, a group of soldiers occupying the castle decided to burn the tapestry, believing it to bring bad luck. The next morning, all the soldiers were found dead under mysterious circumstances. Since then, any attempt to alter the tower or its surroundings is said to provoke the spirit's wrath. Though numerous paranormal investigations have taken place at Castle Leap, none have offered a clear explanation for the sightings. Audio equipment has captured children's voices saying, "Help me," and footsteps ascending the tower stairs, even when the area was empty. Additionally, cameras often malfunction inside the tower, with disrupted recordings or distorted images. Castle Leap remains open to visitors, drawing curious onlookers and supernatural enthusiasts from around the world. However, guides always warn visitors. If you feel a presence or hear light footsteps behind you, it's best not to look back. They say the boy in the window does not like to be ignored, and if you cross his path, he may follow you out of the castle, carrying his eternal sorrow and loneliness with him. Story 2. The Bride of the Mirror at Rialto Theater. In South Pasadena, California, the Rialto Theater stands as a relic of the early 20th century's golden age of entertainment. Built in 1925, the theater hosted grand premieres and unforgettable performances, drawing crowds in search of glamour and delight. Yet, behind its elegant curtains and glistening chandeliers lies a tragic and eerie legend. The story of the Bride of the Mirror, a spirit said to linger in the dressing rooms and empty corridors. The tale begins in the 1920s with a young woman named Eleanor, who worked as a costume designer at the theater. Eleanor was talented and ambitious but carried a broken heart. She was engaged to an actor who frequently performed at the Rialto. Just days before their wedding, she discovered he had been unfaithful with another cast member. Devastated, Eleanor locked herself in the main dressing room and, wearing the wedding dress she had sewn with her own hands, ended her life in front of the large mirror that adorned the wall. Since that fateful night, the dressing room has never been the same. Staff and actors report feeling an unsettling presence there, especially near the mirror. They claim to see a pale female figure in its reflection, often wearing a wedding gown even when the room is empty. Sometimes the dressing room lights flicker or go out completely, and the air becomes oppressively heavy as though someone, or something, is watching. One of the most well-known encounters involves an actress named Margaret, who was rehearsing for a play in the 1940s. During a break, Margaret went to the main dressing room to touch up her makeup. As she looked into the mirror, she noticed movement behind her, as though someone was standing there. Turning around, she found the room empty, but when she looked back at the mirror, she saw a woman in a white gown with sorrowful eyes staring at her. Margaret fled the theater and never returned. Beyond the dressing room, the bride of the mirror is also seen wandering the theater's corridors and seats. During nighttime performances, some audience members report seeing a woman sitting alone in one of the boxes, only for her to vanish when the stage lights illuminate her. Others hear footsteps echoing through the empty halls or muffled sobs coming from the dressing rooms when no one is there. Staff working behind the scenes often experience inexplicable events. A lighting technician recounted seeing a shadowy figure move across the empty stage, passing right through him. Another story tells of a door to the dressing room repeatedly opening and closing on its own after an event. When investigated, the room was empty, but the mirror was covered in handprints, as though someone had tried to escape through it. Paranormal investigators who have visited the Rialto Theater have captured unexplained phenomena on recordings, including faint laughter and a female voice saying, "He left me." Photos taken in the main dressing room often reveal strange distortions or misty shapes near the mirror, reinforcing the belief that Eleanor has never left the theater. Today, the Rialto Theater continues to draw visitors for both cultural events and its haunted reputation. Tour guides warn those brave enough to visit the main dressing room. Avoid staring into the mirror for too long, especially if you're alone. They say the bride of the mirror dislikes intrusions, and if she appears to you, it might be an invitation to share in her eternal sorrow. For those daring enough to step inside the Rialto Theater, the message is simple: respect the space and Eleanor's memory. After all, her pain still resonates within the theater's walls, and her spirit remains trapped, seeking answers she may never find. Story 3. The Owlman of Mawnan. In the quaint village of Mawnan, Cornwall, England, there is a medieval church surrounded by dense forests and rolling green hills. While the area is renowned for its natural beauty, a disturbing legend places it among the region's most haunted locations. Since the 1970s, locals and visitors have reported sightings of a creature known as the Owlman, a being with enormous wings, glowing red eyes, and a form that combines human features with those of a giant owl. The legend began in 1976, when two young sisters, Jane and June, were playing near the Mawnan church. They claimed they heard a loud, strange screech coming from the trees. When they looked up, they saw what appeared to be a man but with enormous wings and sharp claws, perched atop one of the church towers. The creature watched them for a few seconds before taking flight, vanishing into the horizon. The girls ran home in fear and described what they saw. Despite initial skepticism, other locals soon reported similar encounters. The Owlman continues to be seen near the church, especially on misty nights or during storms. Many believe it is an omen of impending tragedy, similar to the American Mothman. Witnesses describe the creature as standing around 2 meters tall, with dark feathers, an elongated face, and glowing eyes that pierce through the darkness. Its cry, they say, is so sharp it makes the air vibrate. One of the most famous accounts involves a lone hiker named Alfred, who was traversing a trail near the church on a rainy night. He reported hearing a loud flapping sound and, upon turning, saw the creature perched in a nearby tree. Alfred described the moment as paralyzing. He felt unable to move as the owlman's red eyes locked onto him. When the creature finally flew away, Alfred fled to the village and vowed never to return to the area. In addition to sightings, unsettling noises are frequently heard emanating from the forest around the church. Locals report heavy footsteps and the sound of claws scraping against trees. Some feel a pervasive, oppressive presence when passing through the area, as though they are being watched. On certain nights, the sky over the church darkens unusually quickly, and unnatural shadows seem to move among the trees. Skeptics suggest the Owlman is merely a large nocturnal bird, such as an owl or eagle, exaggerated by people's imaginations. However, those who claim to have seen the creature insist it is far larger and more terrifying than any known animal. A local bird expert reviewed the reports and dismissed the idea that an owl could explain the sightings, particularly due to the creature's behavior and described size. Paranormal investigators have visited Mawnan several times in search of answers. In one investigation, a team claimed to have captured the sound of wings flapping, followed by a high-pitched screech, though no visible animal was present. Cameras set up in the forest often capture orbs of light or shadows moving swiftly among the trees, but no concrete evidence of the Owlman has been found. Despite the fear, the legend attracts mystery seekers and paranormal enthusiasts from around the world. Local residents generally avoid discussing the Owlman, believing that mentioning it might summon its presence. The church in Mawnan has become a focal point for supernatural enthusiasts, but it is always approached with caution, especially at night. For those planning to explore the forests around the church, the warning is clear. If you hear the sound of wings or a piercing screech, leave the area immediately. They say that if the Owlman crosses your path, it leaves a mark on you, a constant sense of being watched even when you believe you are alone. Story 4. Mary's Phone at Resurrection Cemetery. On the outskirts of Chicago, Resurrection Cemetery is famous for its melancholic atmosphere and the countless legends surrounding its graves. Among all the stories, the most chilling is that of Mary's Phone, a mystery that continues to intrigue residents and visitors alike. The legend began in the 1970s, when drivers passing by a phone booth near the cemetery reported strange and inexplicable occurrences. The story claims that, on the quietest nights, a public phone located across from the cemetery begins to ring incessantly. Those who answer hear the voice of a young woman asking for help. She introduces herself as Mary and says she is trapped inside the cemetery. Her voice is soft and filled with sorrow. However, before the conversation can continue, the line either goes silent or is overtaken by static. This legend is directly linked to the famous tale of Resurrection Mary, a ghostly figure frequently seen near the cemetery. Mary is described as a young woman dressed in white, with long hair and a serene but sorrowful expression. She is said to have died tragically in a car accident in the 1930s while returning from a dance. Since then, her spirit has been seen hitchhiking on the roads near the cemetery. While that legend is widely known, the connection to the phone appears to be a more recent manifestation of her presence. One of the most chilling accounts comes from a taxi driver named Arthur, who was parked near the cemetery on a winter night. He heard the payphone ring and, out of curiosity, answered it. On the other end, he heard a woman's voice say, "Please help me. I'm trapped here." When he asked where she was, the voice replied, "In the cemetery." When Arthur asked how she got there, the line went dead. Disoriented, he entered the cemetery to search but found no one. Returning to the phone, he discovered it was out of service with its wires cut. Others who have answered Mary's calls report strange sensations afterward. Some describe feeling an intense cold as though something passed through them. Others hear faint laughter or muffled crying coming from the direction of the cemetery. On rare occasions, those who entered the cemetery after answering Mary's call report seeing a figure in white standing among the tombstones, watching them from a distance. Additionally, drivers near the phone often hear its ringing, even when the device is completely disconnected. Some report seeing the silhouette of a woman near the booth, only for her to vanish upon approach. Photos taken in the area frequently reveal strange lights or indistinct shadows around the phone, further fueling the belief that something supernatural is at play. Paranormal investigators have tried to uncover the mystery. During one investigation, they connected a recorder to the phone and captured a faint female voice whispering, "Can you hear me?" However, when they attempted to respond, the device abruptly shut off. One investigator described feeling an overwhelming presence while holding the phone, calling it oppressive and filled with sorrow. Today, Mary's phone remains a source of fascination for mystery seekers and ghost hunters. Despite numerous accounts, the phenomenon remains unexplained. Local residents avoid the area at night, believing the phone to be a portal between the living and the dead. For the superstitious, answering a call from Mary opens a door to something that may haunt them forever. If you visit Resurrection Cemetery, the advice is simple. If the phone rings, resist the urge to answer. They say those who speak with Mary carry her sadness for weeks, and some even experience recurring nightmares of a woman in white pleading for help. After all, what Mary truly wants remains a mystery, and perhaps it is something no mortal should uncover. Story 5. The Faceless Night of Bhangarh. Deep in Rajasthan, India, the ruins of Bhangarh are one of the world's most enigmatic sites. Known as the City of Ghosts, Bhangarh is steeped in legends of curses and restless spirits. Among the many haunting tales, the most feared is that of the Faceless Night, an apparition said to patrol the ancient walls of the fort, especially after nightfall. The story dates back centuries to the reign of Raja Madho Singh, who built the Bhangarh fort under the condition that its shadow would never touch the nearby temple. However, when the fort was expanded, this rule was broken and a curse befell the place. Among the spirits trapped by the curse is the Faceless Knight, a warrior who was reportedly beheaded in battle while defending the fort from invaders. It is said that the Knight spirit found no peace and now roams the ruins. He is often spotted on full moon nights, riding a black horse that seems to emerge from the shadows. The knight's figure is imposing, clad in gleaming armor and wielding a long sword. However, where his face should be, there is only an empty void, a black space that seems to absorb the light around it. One of the most well-known accounts comes from a group of tourists who visited Bhangarh at sunset. They were exploring the ruins when they heard the sound of hoofbeats echoing on the stones. Looking back, they saw the silhouette of a knight approaching, his sword gleaming in the twilight. When he turned toward them, the tourists were horrified to see his faceless visage. Panicked, they fled, and upon reviewing the photos taken that night, they noticed the ghostly figure of the knight appearing in several images. In addition to sightings, many people report strange sensations while exploring the fort. The air grows heavier, and a sense of oppression overwhelms those who linger after sunset. Footsteps and voices are often heard within the ruins, and some visitors feel as though they are being followed. There are also reports of phantom soldiers, said to be the knight's companions, appearing to guard the fort during the night. Local residents avoid the area after dusk, claiming that Bhangarh's curse remains active. Many believe that those who cross paths with the Faceless Knight carry a part of his sorrow and despair, as if the spirit seeks to share his eternal pain with the living. For those who visit the ruins of Bhangarh, the warning is clear. Never remain after nightfall, as the Faceless Knight and other spirits awaken when the sun sets. They say that if you hear the sound of hoofbeats or feel a chilling cold, leave immediately, for the Faceless Knight may be watching, and he never forgets those who cross his path. Story 6. The Ashen Man of Lake Bodom. Lake Bodom in Finland is a serene spot surrounded by natural beauty, but it is also steeped in a chilling history that echoes across its still waters. In 1960, 3 teenagers were brutally murdered while camping on the lake's shores, and the crime was never solved. Since then, the location has become infamous not only for the mystery of the murders but also for a sinister presence. The Ashen Man, a spirit said to wander the lake's edges. The Ashen Man is described as tall and gaunt, with gray ashen skin that seems to reflect the moonlight. He is often seen at dusk, standing silently among the trees and watching visitors. In some accounts, he is seen slowly walking along the shoreline, as if searching for someone or something. One of the most famous accounts comes from a fisherman named Eyeless, who was alone at the lake one early evening. He claimed to see a pale figure on the opposite shore, standing motionless and staring directly at him. Thinking it was another visitor, Elias waved, but the figure did not respond. When Elias shifted his position, He realized the Ashen Man was now on his side of the lake, as if he had instantly moved. Feeling an inexplicable chill, Elias left the lake and never returned. Beyond sightings, many people report an eerie presence while near the lake. Areas that were once silent are suddenly filled with whispers or faint footsteps. Some say they hear muffled screams coming from the water, and there are reports of boats that move on their own, as though pulled by an unseen force. Paranormal investigators who have studied the site captured sounds of moaning and voices in audio recordings. One team claimed to see a shadow dart quickly among the trees, but found no physical evidence. Many believe the Ashen Man is the spirit of one of the victims, condemned to wander the lake in search of justice or answers. Today, Lake Bodom attracts both nature enthusiasts and those intrigued by its haunting legend. However, local residents warn against camping alone by the shores or visiting after dark. They say that if you encounter the Ashen Man, he might follow you home, bringing the weight of his tragedy and the echo of his pain. Story 7. The Veiled Lady of Brookfield Bridge. In the tranquil town of Brookfield, Vermont, there is a covered bridge that draws tourists for its bucolic charm but also haunts them with a dark legend, the Veiled Lady. The bridge, which spans a serene creek, is the setting for a mysterious haunting that leaves a trail of fear in the hearts of those who dare cross it after sunset. The story dates back to the 19th century when a young woman named Eleanor fell in love with a man her family disapproved of. In an attempt to elope, Eleanor arranged to meet him at the bridge. However, the man never appeared. Waiting for hours in the cold night, Eleanor was found dead the next morning, still wearing her wedding veil, partially covering her face. Some say she died of hypothermia, while others believe she took her own life in despair. Since then, the figure of a woman draped in a white veil has been seen on the bridge during misty nights. Drivers report seeing her standing motionless in the middle of the bridge. When they approach, the woman slowly lifts her veil, revealing a disfigured face, burned flesh or exposed bone. Panicked, many speed away, but some say they feel her presence in the back seat after the encounter. One of the most chilling stories involves a couple who crossed the bridge on a rainy night. Seeing the veiled lady standing in the road, the driver swerved, losing control of the car and crashing into the side of the bridge. They claimed that before blacking out, they saw the woman approach the vehicle and press her face against the window. When rescue teams arrived, they found no trace of the figure, but the driver's side window was covered in scratches, as though long nails had scraped it. In addition to encounters on the road, the veiled lady is also associated with the creek beneath the bridge. Local residents report hearing sobbing coming from the water on quiet nights, as though someone is mourning. Some fishermen claim to see the reflection of a veiled woman in the water's surface, but when they look up, no one is there. Paranormal investigators have visited the bridge multiple times, capturing recordings of a female voice saying, "Why did he leave me?" or "I'm still waiting." Photographs often show orbs of light or indistinct shadows near the bridge. Some visitors report feeling a chilling cold and an oppressive sense of sadness while crossing, even on warm summer nights. Today, Brookfield Bridge draws both supernatural enthusiasts and thrill seekers testing their courage. Locals, however, avoid the area after dusk, believing that crossing the bridge at night may invite Eleanor's spirit. For those brave enough to visit, the advice is clear. If you see the veiled lady, do not interact with her, and above all, do not look directly at her face. They say that those who do are cursed with endless nightmares and a constant feeling of being watched, no matter where they are. Story 8. The Laugh in Aokigahara Forest. In Japan, at the foot of the majestic Mount Fuji, lies Aokigahara Forest, also known as the Suicide Forest. This place of undeniable natural beauty hides a darker side. Stories of restless spirits and unexplained events that terrify visitors and locals alike. Among the most chilling tales is that of the child's laughter, a sound that echoes through the trees and lures those who hear it deeper into the forest. The legend tells of a family who entered the forest during a time of great famine, following the practice of ubasut, where the elderly or children were abandoned to ease the family's burden. A young girl was left alone in the forest, crying for her mother. Days later, hikers began reporting faint laughter and sightings of a girl playing among the trees. However, when they tried to reach her, they were led deeper into the forest, never to return. Reports of the child's laughter persist to this day. Visitors venturing into the forest alone often say they hear soft, distant giggles that gradually come closer. Some claim to see a girl with black hair and a white dress running between the trees. When they approach, she vanishes, but the laughter continues, circling them and driving them into panic. One group of amateur explorers recounted a particularly unsettling experience. While following a marked trail, they heard laughter echoing to their left. When they veered off the path to investigate, they found old toys scattered on the ground and small footprints in the dirt. Before they could react, a cold wind swept past them, followed by loud laughter that seemed to come from all directions. Terrified, they struggled to return to the main trail, only finding it after hours of wandering. Beyond the laughter, there are reports of whispers and footsteps that seem to follow visitors. Cameras left in the forest have captured fleeting shadows and in some cases, faint laughter in the background of recordings. Many believe the laughter does not belong to the girl but to an entity using her image to lure the living deeper into the forest. Locals living near Aokigahara avoid entering the forest, especially at night, and warn tourists of the dangers of straying from marked trails. They believe the child's laughter is a warning, a trap to draw the unwary to the same tragic fate as those who lost their lives in the forest. They say that if you hear the sound, you must ignore it and return immediately to the nearest exit. For adventurers who dare to venture into Aokigahara, the advice is straightforward. Never follow the sound of laughter or try to find its source. Many believe that those who do are never seen again, leaving behind only the echoes of their fatal curiosity. Story 9. The Eyeless Driver of Silver Springs. On the isolated road surrounding Silver Springs, Florida, there exists a legend that has terrified motorists for decades. On the darkest nights, particularly along stretches where the asphalt seems to disappear into an empty horizon, drivers may encounter a sight that defies reason. The Eyeless Driver, a figure whose appearance many believe serves as a dire warning. The story dates back to the 1950s, when a man named William frequently drove these roads at night, transporting goods. Known for his reckless driving and disregard for speed limits, William's habits eventually led to tragedy. One fateful night, he lost control on a sharp curve and crashed violently into a tree. When rescuers arrived, they found him dead at the scene, his eyes gruesomely removed by the impact. Since then, motorists have reported sightings of an old car, similar to the one William drove, speeding along the road. The vehicle often appears suddenly, swerving dangerously close to other cars before vanishing into thin air. Those who manage to glimpse the driver describe him as appearing human at first glance, but upon closer inspection, they notice he has no eyes, only hollow sockets, emanating in eerie, unexplainable darkness. One of the most chilling accounts comes from a woman named Emily, who was driving alone at night toward Silver Springs. She noticed headlights rapidly approaching from behind. As the car sped past her, it seemed to make no sound, as if it were a shadow. Glancing in her rearview mirror, Emily saw the driver, a pale man with hollow sockets where his eyes should have been. He appeared to be staring directly at her even as his car faded into the night. In addition to sightings, there are reports of inexplicable phenomena linked to the eyeless driver. Some claim to hear faint, mocking laughter while driving near the crash site, even when they are alone. Others report sudden, unexplained car troubles, engines stalling or headlights flickering erratically while traveling the stretch of road. A few drivers have discovered handprints or smudges on their vehicles after passing through the area, as though something unseen had touched their cars. Paranormal investigators have attempted to document the eyeless driver's appearances, but their efforts have been met with strange failures. During one investigation, a camera mounted on a car captured only flashes of light and the sound of screeching tires, as if a vehicle was speeding alongside them, but nothing appeared on the footage. One investigator claimed to feel an oppressive presence during the journey, describing it as though someone were sitting in the back seat, silently watching. The legend draws both thrill-seekers and curious onlookers, but locals avoid the road at night. Many believe the eyeless driver appears to reckless motorists as a warning or premonition of an impending accident. Others suggest his presence signifies he is trapped in an endless loop, reliving his final, tragic drive. For those who travel Silver Springs roads after dark, the advice is clear. Maintain a steady speed, ignore any strange laughter or sounds, and above all, avoid looking directly at the phantom car. They say that if you meet the eyeless driver's gaze, he may follow you home, bringing the weight of his sorrow and the chilling sense that someone is always watching you, even when you're alone. Story 10. The Phantom Passenger of Bluebell Hill. In the picturesque region of Kent, England, the road cutting through Bluebell Hill is as infamous for its supernatural occurrences as it is for its natural beauty. Since the 1960s, motorists have reported encounters with a spirit that has become part of local folklore. The Phantom Passenger, a figure who appears seeking a ride, bringing with her an unsettling aura of sorrow. The legend stems from a tragic accident in 1965, when a car carrying 3 young women collided head-on with another vehicle on Bluebell Hill. One of the passengers, a bride en route to her wedding, died at the scene. Since then, it is said her restless spirit haunts the road, forever trying to complete her unfinished journey. Drivers traveling the road at night often report seeing a pale young woman in a simple white dress hitchhiking by the roadside. She appears distressed and is often seen crying. Those who stop to help her describe her as silently entering their vehicle, staring ahead with a vacant expression. As the car approaches Bluebell Hill, she vanishes without a trace, leaving behind a damp seat or faint marks, as though someone had been sitting there. One of the most chilling accounts comes from a man named Peter, who offered the woman a ride on a misty evening. She entered the back seat and gestured toward her desired destination. Upon arriving, Peter looked in the rearview mirror to find she had disappeared. Confused, he shared the story with locals and was told about the legend of the Phantom Bride. Checking the back seat, Peter discovered droplets of water and a small flower, seemingly torn from a bridal bouquet. In addition to the hitchhiking ghost, there are reports of a figure appearing in the middle of the road, forcing drivers to brake suddenly. When they step out to investigate, they find no one there, but often feel an inexplicable chill and hear faint whispers carried on the wind. Security cameras installed along the road have captured flashes of light and misty shapes resembling a human figure, but no concrete explanation has been found. Bluebell Hill continues to attract visitors intrigued by its ghostly reputation, but locals advise caution, especially at night. Many believe the Phantom Passenger is not merely an apparition but a restless soul seeking solace. For those who encounter her, the warning is clear: treat her with respect, but never attempt to follow her. It is said that those who do are overcome with a profound sadness and an inexplicable urge to return to the road, as though something, or someone, is calling them back. If you made it this far, the mystery has hooked you. So, leave your like, subscribe, and hit the bell to follow each new story. Thanks for watching and see you in the next terror.